Welcome to 𝐄𝐓𝐇𝐄𝐄, talk about investing, finance, and professional development. So I've been spending a lot of time recently onto cultivating a tutorial, a simple 7 steps of methodology on how we can buy, sell, or hold crypto or stocks and consistently generate returns. Okay, so in this presentation, I will walk you guys through, the step by step in I guess in a friendly and also high level tutorial type of manner. So feel free to stop the video and I will timestamp this videos for you guys to watch back and refer back to the steps. And obviously if you have any questions, just reach out to me. Okay, so let me just shift my gear onto the presentation. So on a high level, take a picture of this or whatever. There are 7 steps. So, and the 7 steps we are going to be going through, I will be breaking down each of the pieces. Hopefully this video will not be a very elongated one. So I'm just going to dive right into it, right? So firstly, with respect to scan for buy, sell, hold signal, let's just dive right into it. So every single day, right, you'll get this Patreon update, and this is applicable for both the 75 to, I would say now is like more like 90 cryptocurrencies. Like these are the coins that you could see on the list, and also approximately around 75 to 90 stocks as well, which these are updated every single day, and we're quite interactive. So if you have any specific requests adding onto the list, so just let me know, right? So what do, right? Every single day you take a look at this list that is posted in the morning and sometimes like after market hours. You scan for step 1, right, which is to scan for the buy sell hold signal in the middle, right? And whenever you see something that's jumping off the page that is either saying that you should buy or sell, right? Let's say if this is saying that you should be, is saying a buy signal, which is my recommendation. But obviously for this demonstrative purposes, we only saying hold at the moment. So what do? After you have that, you shift that onto the next page, right? So let's say, Ethereum is recommending a buy, right? So you go on to the technical chart, which is the next level in the middle, right? You could see that there's in the middle. And this is indicating there are 3 levels, in the resistance or the support level, right? And you could see that with respect to the first level up, what this is indicating is that the next level up based on the current level, right? And the current level that we're trading at as of today, 9:45 a.m. on September 3rd, is 1,555, right? So the next level up on the resistance level will be 1710.90, right? You could feel free to round it up or round it down depending on how you would like to. And then with respect to what's the level down, right? These are the level of supports, right? So these are levels like 1450, 1475, and then the subsequent level, if we break that level of support, will be 1400, which is 1399, right? So as you get that level checked out, you understand that, okay, are we in a wide range of spectrum with respect to the technical level of support and resistance? If we are aligned and we're relatively close in proximity, right, which is, in this case is recommending a buy, you check out the fundamental level, which is talking about, after doing the quantitative analysis, using a financial model to understanding and assessing, what's the true value of Ethereum, then we understand that fundamentally, what are supposed to be the prices that Ethereum should be trading at would be based on fair, attractive, and steal level, right? So as you double check that, you see that, oh wow, we are in the steal level in the fundamental perspective, which is true, right? Overall market was highly oversold. Crypto is highly oversold, so that makes a lot of sense, right? So as you get that signal, you want to dive into the next level, which is taking a look at the, the largest delta, right? Are we in oversold or overbought? Obviously, in this case, right, you could see that we highly oversold by 50.6% compared to the overall market, right? So as you do that, obviously you have a good sense on like, okay, so the technical looks good, the fundamental level looks good, the overall macro market looks like it's aligned and it's on a discount, right? So you also want to do some, interesting things, right? If you're buying stocks, right, you want to be looking at what the whales are doing. So going back to step one, you scan for buy or sell signal with respect to what happened that day, right? So you could see that as of Friday, the 2nd, right, which is this past Friday, you could see that collectively, ARK Invest has sold a quite amount of stocks. So you could use this list and you could triangulate like, okay, wow, so ARK Invest was very active that day. And you could see like how much they've sold, what is the key delta of variance on driving it. You could also see like with respect to their total portfolio, how much they have shifted, how many shares they have, and things like that, right? And you could also look at for BlackRock, which is the largest fund managers in the world. They're managing $1 trillion. I would say BlackRock technically like they rule the world in the case. If you look at like the history of it and with respect to how diversified is their holding in an asset perspective is quite diversified and global. And so you could tell like, so if they are selling a certain stocks, should you be buying in, right? So this will also give you a level of flavor of reference, right? You also maybe want to do just knowing the fact that the U.S. politicians have more information on a macro perspective before we know, right? So I was very fortunate to get the direct source on what are the politicians trading on a day-to-day basis, right? And I'm able to understand what they're buying. Are they fully selling or partially selling, right, on a day-to-day basis? And it will show all the tickers, right? Which is very informative if you are trying to understand like, is this like, what are the whales doing, right? What are the politicians doing, right? So if you can, contingent on, let's say, one of the politicians, let's say Nancy Pelosi, she bought a lot of Tesla or a lot of, I don't know, NVIDIA or something like that. Then you can go back to your list, right? Now you understand that, there's a large variance on the RSI scale. And you could see that with respect to the technical, it checks out on both the support level and also fundamentally. So let's say you want to buy, right? How much should you be buying, right? Then what you will do, you go on to the sanity checklist, which is up here on step 5. What this is a scale on understanding like, okay, let's say we fall under the, fair spectrum. You might want to allocate 5 to 10% of the cash reserve that you have, right? So let's say you have $100,000 or $1,000 or $100. Let's just put it this way: you will put $5 or $10 out of the $100 towards, buying if that meets with your level, right? Let's say we are on a fundamental perspective hitting the attractive level, 10 to 15%, so $10 to $15, right? I'm using the $100 scale again, right? Let's say we're reaching at the steel level, right? It makes sense for you to be a little bit more aggressive as you go down to a lower level on a fundamental perspective, right? Obviously, the technical will do what the technical will do because it has a lot of exogenous macro factor that's baked into it. And also, we're in a bear market right now. So, relatively speaking, fundamental, is kind of an art than a science, right? You have to have a good balance to it, right? But if we're in the steel level and on the technical front, we are in a relatively good support level, it makes sense to be a little bit more aggressive, right? You always want to buy when it's on a downturn. You never want to buy when it's super high up in the sky at a high premium, right? So after understanding all of this, then you understand how much you want to be buying it, right? However, in the other way around, right? Let's say you triangulate with this list and you see that there's a sell, and you can see that, with respect to the technical level, it is looking quite far away from the, the next support level, and fundamentally we are quite, up in the sky. Let's just put it that way. We highly overbought, and this will indicate this on the fundamental spectrum right here. Then you would want to be taking profit, right? So you also want to maybe triangulate this with the ARK Invest, right? You see that, oh man, Tesla or other stocks is being sold significantly by ARK Invest and also by BlackRock and also by some of the politicians here, checking the ticker here. And also like, based on our technical analysis that we perform, the methodology is showing that on technical front and the fundamental front is quite, extended, right? So it should convey a collective sell signal. then you would want to ideally take some profit, right? And the profit taking methodology is either if you're holding for a long term, right, you want to be obviously selling maybe half of your position, or in my case, I like to take 40% off the table and still keep the 60% in the holding, and I would just like use that 40% as a cash reserve. And I will, firstly, you don't have to pay a huge amount of tax, but secondly, you could also allow yourself to further dollar cost average as it comes down, right? And then what you do after you have that pool of capital, you can just repeat and rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. So if you follow this again, right, this 7 steps, you should be, quite successful. But it does take some, practice, right? And for me to like simply explain this to you, because I've been doing this for the last basically 1 decade so far. My collective experience has been on Wall Street, buying and selling, right, on equity side. So it makes a lot of sense why it's very, rigorous. But if you need any like specific guidance, right, yeah, I think my face is like kind of covering it. So let me just shift my head here. So like again, right, just to repeat one last time, right? Scan the buy sell hold signals using the DCA list that we cultivate on a day-to-day basis. Feel free to refer us, on the YouTube channel that we talk about day-to-day basis. Scan other whales investors buy sell hold signals as well to formalize just to give you a little bit of a flavor and observations on what the whales are doing, right? And then lastly, scan the politician trade numbers as well. Like, are they buying or are they selling, right? And as you do that, you also want to triangulate with the technical level that we perform and the fundamental level that we perform, which is step 2 and 3. And these are critical. And these are, again, it's like an art, right? But based on my recommendation, we know it's a buy, sell, or hold, right? As you do that, you obviously want to shift onto the RSI scale, like looking at the delta in comparisons to overall macro market. You typically want to buy when it's oversold, right? And it's, the higher the red bar, the more you're more inclined to do so, right? And then if you want to buy, you want to resort again to your cash reserve allocation to understand what's the level do you want to be buying. Is it 5-10% or 15 to 25% and things like that. And then lastly, if you want to sell, you want to obviously follow the same methodology that we just talked about so far. And take profit again, right? The methodology that I use is 40% sell, keep the 60% hold, and buy in when it comes back, right? And then step 7 is to just rinse and repeat, right? So hopefully this is helpful in terms of breaking it down for you guys. I try my best to be as intuitive as possible, and I know this might take some time for this to sink in a little bit, but once you get a hang of it, it becomes second nature to you, and you would just be doing this on a day-to-day basis. And I guarantee, and I don't say this often, guarantee if you follow this with this level of discipline, you should have no problem making good amount of profit consistently. And it's just more about like wealth preservation and just tax write-off, if you may, which is another question, right? If you're selling a huge amount of money of capital, how are you going to be preserving without paying, like, let's say you're in New York, 50% tax and stuff like that, right? Which is another discussion. That's a great problem to have, but we can talk about that in a later time. So appreciate you. Let me know if you have any questions, and subscribe and like this video if you find this helpful. And yeah, give me a shout on Patreon. And I think especially on the first couple of days of the month would be the perfect time for you to initialize your subscription with our Patreon account. So appreciate you, and really appreciate your friendship and your love. You guys are my family, and let me know if you have questions. Okay, take care.